Welcome back to the Steel Hand YouTube channel. Today we're going to be putting together an upper receiver. Are a little hard to find on parts right now, so I had to make do with a few pieces that weren't exactly what we were looking for, but at the end of the day should still get the job done. We've got a 7-inch handguard, flat side upper with no dust cover, which I would prefer to have, and no forward assist. The BCM Gunfighter number 3 charging handle. Got the lightweight bolt carrier group. Alright. The Faxon Arms 7.5 inch gunner barrel. 300 blackout. Give you a nice piece. And got the Spikes gas tube, pistol length. Then we're going with a short barrel and doing 300 blackout. And then we have the low profile gas block, 0.75. Alright, and we get the gas tube. Comes with a little roll pin you have to put in right there. We're going to keep that in the bag until we get done and get to that point, so we don't lose it. Set that out of the way. Before we install the bolt carrier group at the very end, we'll take it apart and clean it. The gas block, get that cleaned up in a second. Got 2 little set screws in it. And make sure we keep track of those. Get this cleaned up real quick. Anytime you order stuff, it's been in packing or anything to that effect, probably got stuff on it to keep it from rusting or corroding while it sits on the shelf. Always make sure to clean everything out real good. Don't have a problem with it down the road. I always go through and test fit just to make sure everything goes into place. Make sure your barrel goes in. It's got your little tab pin in the top. Make sure it gets there. Check your feed ramps inside of here. You want to make sure that there's smooth transition. If there's big offset or a big divot or big inconsistency, you may want to replace those parts because you may end up with rounds getting hung up instead of feeding. I'll take the barrel nut, slide it over, just spin it down by hand. Firms up nice and good, so we know that works. Alright. We're going to want to put a little bit of grease on the outside of the barrel. Keep it from corroding against the aluminum. I'm going to do the same inside the barrel threads. Barrel nut threads. A little grease in there so it doesn't gall when it's torquing it down. Spread that around. Don't need a lot, just enough to get a nice little even coat on there. Down the threads nice and good. Clean your hands back off. Got the barrel back in place. Barrel nut threads down. Now every handguard has its own style barrel nut. So whatever handguard you go with, that's what's going to determine what nut comes with your setup and what tool you need. Some that have specific tools, some you just need a crow's foot, some come with a tool like that so you can slide it over. Other times you may just need a crow's foot. Either way, you got to have a torque wrench so you can torque it to spec. Most handguards come with a spec sheet like this one did. As you can see, torque it to 40 foot-pounds, back it off, and then retorque it to 50 to 65 foot-pounds. We'll step back over here to the vise, get that torqued, and then I'll be back. Alright, now we've torqued the barrel nut on. It's nice and good. We did the multi-torque sequencing. They give you that range of 50 to 65 foot-pounds of torque because depending on your barrel nut, you may have to turn it a little bit farther so you get access to where your gas tube goes in. Some have a recessed channel for it to sit in, and you may have to adjust it. Also, sometimes you may have to, with those, use a shim kit, and the shims go underneath the barrel nut to pull the barrel nut out a little bit farther where it connects to the barrel. So always check into that and make sure you have the proper stuff before you get going. Alright, you have your gas block, you got your pin mark right there, tube goes in the back, the gas port is right there. Don't know if you can see it with the lighting. The gas port's right there in the top, and you can be able to look through right here and see it. You always want to check that location against the gas port in your barrel. There is a little bit of variance between all manufacturers. It's not going to always sit flush right against this lip. Sometimes if you do that, you will actually cover the gas port and have malfunctions quite often. So always look into that, always verify. They do make a jig, so it lines up these ports with this hole, so you can countersink these a little bit. And as you see, you've got your gas tube. Right there is where the gas port lines up with inside, and then you have your pinhole up here in the front. So you have to make sure when you put this in that you're putting the gas port facing down, like this. Gas port's here, facing down, so it collects the gas from in here, because that's how it will sit on the rifle. And the little narrow end on the gas tube is what goes inside of the upper receiver. So at this point, we're going to open the little bag, take out the roll pin, maybe. Alright. Grab our little brass hammer. Alright. We're going to get our roll pin install tools. See which we got the one to match up. Once we get that, alright, we got the roll pin install tool. It's recessed inside so it can slide in. Take our little brass hammer, get this started. It's always fun trying to put these pins in. There's lots of angles on the gas block, so to get it to sit sometimes isn't as easy. And you're gonna get it, once you get it started, don't put it in too far. You're gonna slide in your gas tube and go from there. And once you get your pin started just a little bit, your gas tube in there, make sure you wiggle your gas tube a little bit, make sure it's not pinched sideways before you continue to hammer it in. I'll pull it out a couple times just to make sure. Look inside the hole, make sure you're lined up coming across. If you get this thing sideways, it is a little bit of a pain. Straighten it back out. So working at an angle isn't always the easiest. Probably people that are way better at this. Someone might even have a special little idea. As you can see, it's going in good. Just Just gotta flush it out on the other side. There we go. And you can see, now we got the pin in. It's nice on both sides. And that's all you gotta do for that. Next step in line, got the two little pins that go in the bottom of the gas block. They're an Allen wrench, so you want to make sure you get the Allen wrench you need before you get started and can't get them in because you ain't got the right. I'm going to put a tiny dab of blue Loctite on these. I don't want them coming loose. Definitely not something I want shifting around. Let's get them started in there. And if you have a range that you have access to, once you get the gas block installed, before you put the handguard on, it's nice to be able to go down to the range, put a few rounds through it just to make sure it cycles good, and verify that you did not misalign the gas port. And you can always come back after you've done that, take out one of the threaded screws, drill a little bit of recess in there to give it a better place to sit. Not a hole, just a little bit of a recess. So you can see we'll line up the gas tube in the hole, wiggle it around a little bit so it goes in. Slide it all the way back. As you can see, sometimes it'll be firm against it, other times there'll be a little bit of a gap. Looking at ours earlier, we need that little bit of a gap in there to line up the gas ports. You want to make sure you're nice and straight. There's a torque spec on these. I do not have it handy to give it to you, so please make sure you do the proper research so you make sure everything is torqued properly so you do not have any failures or issues. The gun is not the place where you want to half-ass it. Alright, and you can see their handguard is cut higher here, which is where the gas tube will sit. This style just clamps from the bottom using these two Torx heads. Basically, you just slide it inside. It's got a knurled edge, so it's got something nice to bite into. And you see, we got a nice back against here. Now this doesn't have the anti-rotation anything on it. Once the anti-rotate, we'll have a clip or a piece here, or this will be bulged out to sit against the edge to keep the handguard from twisting. Didn't have that option with what was available, so we went with these. I'll do the same thing with these. I'm gonna put a little bit of dab of blue Loctite on them before I put them in and snug them up. Alright, one thing we're going to do is we're going to put the lower receiver on this just as a test fit to make sure that the handguard isn't interfering with any of the front. Do that. And slide that right in. Push your front pin in. Once that's set, slide your back pin in. Your upper and lower are connected. As you can see, we have no issues here. It's always, everything's a little bit different in the world. Everything is mil spec, there should be no problem. But there is commercial product also, which is not the same spec. So I always want to make sure all your pieces are matching up. Now we test fit that on the lower. We'll go ahead, put a little blue Loctite on each of the screws. In case down the road we want to change the handguard to a different style or a different size, we still will be able to. But if we decide not to, it's not going to come sliding off on us when we're out there running it. When you're tightening these down, you want to tighten down evenly. Don't crank one all the way down tight and then tighten the other one. And put equal pressure. That way you got a good grip from front to back. As you can see, the slot is getting a little smaller. It will not close all the way, and that's totally fine. Alright, now we got those nice and tight. Alright, all good. You see what we got. Let's see if we look down in the barrel. The gas block and everything lines up down through there. So you can see it, hopefully, on the camera. Got a nice line all the way down through. So if you want to put a front sight and a rear sight on here, you're not going to have issues with alignment. The last part you're going to come to do in this scenario is you're going to take your charging handle upside down, slide it into the receiver. You'll see a recessed little pocket right here. Slide it in, and it will drop in. As you can see, there's a gas tube. This will actually slide over the gas tube in there. So in the beginning, we're going to put it back, and then we're going to put the gas system right here. You want to make sure this is staked. If you look and these are not staked, this is not a quality product. You may want to replace it with something better instead of trying to run it. And what you do is you put the gas key down into the recessed part of the charging handle, slide it forwards, it'll go, now it's locked in. You can see right here, this is locked. The bolt carrier group is all installed. And other than whatever flash hider or whatever you want to put on the end, you've now basically built a complete upper. Obviously this one doesn't have the forward assist, which if we had a stripped upper with that, we would be out installing that and putting the pin in and the dust cover and spring and plate to cover that up for we're out in the field. But you also have access with this handguard to the screws. So if you ever have to do something with the gas block, or you decide, hey, I like the way it is, it's working good, I want to take it out and recess the drill holes a little bit, you could, without having to fully remove the handguard or anything. Alright. Now we have our upper. We have our lower we built on the other video. We're going to take the spring and buffer tube and slide that right. Spring and the buffer. Sorry about that. Slide that right in. As you can see, that little pin holds the buffer from going out. You can change the weight of your buffer to help control your recoil a little bit, and also depending on how your gun cycles with the weight of your bolt carrier group and stuff, you can change it out to optimize how it runs. So now we have that. Take our upper, place it on, install the front pin, rear pin. Now we have a full system. As you can see, there may be a little bit of wiggle in some. This one's pretty good overall, which is nice. They do make little wedges you can put down in the lower if it does have wiggle, or the screw that goes through the handle. They have one with a little adjustable piece on the end that pushes up against the upper receiver to hold it in place, just to put a little tension on it through the screw. As you can see, that works. I'm going to pull the charging handle. Runs good that way. Lock the bolt back. All good. Let's see if we do the bolt release. Drops right up into place. And that's it. Now, we installed our pair of pistol brace. So you can see it's nice and short. This comes with a strap system for you to put your arm inside, adjust it tight into your arm so you can run it with one hand. Because remember, with a short barrel, unless you're 16 inches long on your barrel or more, this has to be either an SBR, which you have to pay a tax stamp and register if you want to put a rifle stock on the back. So by going with a pistol brace, this is considered a pistol. Just like your 9mm, your 1911, anything to that effect. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, let me know.